We are back on Taking Care of Business on Current Radio News Talk 1180. So we've got Shannon Grove's initiative for a part-time legislature. Another initiative we've been looking at is the Stop Special Interest Money Now. Our guest to talk about that is Jake Suski. Jake, welcome to Taking Care of Business.
It's great to be with you guys. Really honored.
Well, we've talked to Bob Lowen about this in the past. We actually talked to him at the business conference here in Bakersfield about a year and a half ago. But tell our listeners about the initiative, those that may not know what the initiative is all about.
Yes, it's a fairly straightforward initiative, and it does exactly what it says it'll do, and it stops special interest money. The goal of the initiative is to reduce the influence in Sacramento and across the state of the large special interests that control the agenda and control the politicians once they get into office. It does three things. The first reform in the initiative would ban direct contributions from both corporations and unions to political candidates. That's candidates for state office and candidates for local office. It says, you know what, it's about time the individual's contribution was more important than the contributions they're getting from different corporations and unions. So it ends that practice. The second thing it does is it puts in place a ban on government contractors, either those who have a contract with government or seeking a contract with government. It bans them from contributing to the politicians. And that ends the pay-to-play culture we see, a lot of local places in L.A. and in other communities in Bakersfield. I'm sure there have been cases over the years. And it ends that pay-to-play practice where people offer contributions to politicians in return for favors. The third thing it does is it ensures that corporations and unions don't take money automatically out of their workers' paychecks for political purposes. They have to ask permission every year on an annual basis to see if those workers are willing to contribute to their political causes. And this doesn't apply to charitable contributions or anything like that. It simply applies to political contributions. Couple these three reforms together, and you're taking a giant step in reducing the net influence in this state by the special interests that seem to control the agenda.
But Jake, that last one is really the rub, isn't it? The automatic payment, because right now, take a look at the teachers union, for example. You've got a lot of teachers that don't agree with the positions taken by the teachers union, and they're upset with the fact that money's taken out of their checks, and they don't have a whole lot they can do about it.
Yeah, you see that taking place a lot on the local level. It's a matter of fairness. The employee or the worker should have the right to say whether or not they want to contribute to a political cause. And unions are using their dues, these political amounts that can be up to $400 a year, for political campaigns on a national level, for political campaigns on a state and a local level that those workers may disagree with. And really they've got a ton of money to spend. One thing we're going to see over the next couple of months is the unions are going to show their might in that state. They're going to pour out their war chest of money, and they're going to spend it to fight this initiative. We fully anticipate that they'll spend well over $30 million to fight our initiative, and they're going to be fighting other battles in the state as well as the presidential election. And I think that there's going to be a lot of workers that aren't happy with that money being spent without real permission granted. It's not to say that the unions don't absolutely have a right to form PACs and be involved politically and represent the workers that choose to contribute. It's just giving the workers a say in how that money is spent.
Is there a limit on how much an individual can contribute to a political campaign?
There are. On the statewide level, it's in the $3,000 range. In the local level, depending on the community you live in, it varies. I know down in San Diego, it's a small $500 limit. San Diego is kind of unique. They're one of the only cities in the state, I believe, that has a ban in place for corporate contributions, and they only allow individuals to contribute. And on a federal level, the limit is different as well.
What's the federal limit?
I believe, I'd have to double check, but I believe it's $3,500.
Then how, you have to explain to me then, George Clooney held a party for Obama last night, or this past week, let me say, and supposedly raised about $15 million from individuals. How does he do that? You
get a lot of bundlers. When you have those big fundraisers with multimillionaires, what they do is they go out and they get folks that they work with, to contribute, people that their contacts know, and they invite hundreds of people to these events, and they pledge to raise $1 million in order to attend, a high-profile dinner like that one.
Yeah, I don't know if you gentlemen heard the plate cost, but the plate cost was $40,000 a plate for that dinner the other night.
That's a pledge to either raise $40,000, or it could have been a fundraiser for the Democratic National Committee, where contribution limits are different.
And it's funny. I used to have an office in Sherman Oaks, and I saw the 101 in Studio City where they closed it down for the presidential motorcade, so that he could get to the dinner at Clooney's house, and I could just imagine how happy those people were being stranded on the 101 and the 405.
Yeah, got to be tough.
Yeah.
So what's our next step?
Well, our next step is really to get the word out. A lot of people are gearing up for the June ballots, which are coming up, and we encourage everyone to get out and vote. This will not be on the ballot until this November. So what we're doing right now is we're just kind of gearing up to begin to tell voters the story about this initiative. We've got a website, stopspecialinterestmoney.org, where people can go sign up, start to hear from the campaign, about what our activities are, learn about how they can get involved, talk to their friends about it, and really start spreading the word. On our side, it's a grassroots effort by individual voters, while the other side is going to have all the special interest resources at their hand to spend and organize and put up a lot of TV and radio ads to try to convince people that this is a horrible thing. They're going to make up any lie they can to try to convince voters not to do anything about the power that they have.
Mm-hmm. We're having a conversation with Jake Suski from Stop Special Interest Money Now.
So, Jake, you're going to restrict the corporations and the unions from donating money, and most of the time that money is spent to increase the economy. So now what you're saying is you're going to destroy part of the economy.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's kind of funny in a sense, and it's sad more so than it's funny, but we've got crumbling infrastructure in this state. We've got budget shortfalls on local and the state level year after year. We have schools that are increasingly getting worse. We have a lot of challenges on our plate as a state and in our local communities. And it seems like, the politicians haven't gotten their act together on this for decades now. And the real reason why is that the agenda in Sacramento isn't geared towards the average Californian's needs, the average needs of folks across the state. It's geared towards what the very narrow special interests are interested in and what they're focused on. AT&T, there was a story in the LA Times a few weeks ago that talked about how much money AT&T spends on politics. They give out in political contributions an average of $1 million a year to influence, state politicians to make sure that their agenda either gets through, or the agenda that might harm their profits or harm their ability to expand or whatever it may be fails. And what happens is, the politicians end up focusing on the things that they need to focus on because that's where the money's coming in and they want to stay in power. And it's just an unfortunate cycle. I think, we send a lot of good people into public office that we hope, represent our needs and represent our best interests. And once they get up there, the corrupting influence of the money is just really damaging to their ability to get the work done. And so it's a vicious cycle, and until we as voters step up and say that we got to do something to break this cycle, it's just going to continue.
It's funny that you mentioned AT&T. I was looking at that article. Some things kind of are mind-boggling here. I guess since, let's see, what did I read here? Oh, okay. AT&T has donated to 391 out of 435 House members, 78 out of 100 senators, and they are the largest donor to congressional members in the last 20 years, AT&T.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And I think that story also said that they've gotten just about everything they've wanted, and everything they've wanted to block has been blocked.
Yeah, since 2006, they've donated $14,000 a day.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, if you had one voter that was donating $14,000 a day, maybe that voter would get something done for their community. But that's not what the politicians are focusing on. This money that changes hands causes the agenda to just skew off into very narrow interests. and not the big picture, not the big problems that voters are really concerned about.
Yeah, it's insane. We're going to carry you for another segment, Jake, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.